the moment. None of this at the moment is concrete. It's all to be discussed in Parliament before any of it becomes actual law. But we've got a good indication of what we can expect once everything goes through the Parliament. So I'll just start going through this. If you have any questions, just pop that in the chat and then we will address those towards the end. Right, so as you know, obviously this is hosted by Tulia. We cover a range of legal services and support for migrants. We provide more than just legal work. We provide support. We help with applications, whether you've got, if you need advice, whether you need the actual application help. If you've had a refusal, you can approach us, appeals, settlements, applications. Um, Anytime you're able to access our website to get a full rundown of what we can assist you with. So this webinar um, is also one of the things that we offer. Right, so in terms of the changes, immigration has been at the forefront of politics for quite some time now. Um, if you watch the news, you'll see quite a lot of the time is spent in terms of discussing immigration and the influx of migrants. So there were some changes back in November, and now more drastic changes have been announced and proposed, which we will be going through. So overall, what the government intend to do is revamp the whole immigration system. Specifically, it will affect skilled workers amongst a lot of others, but directly it will affect skilled workers a lot. What they want to do, the wording that they use is they want to turn the page on migration policies following Brexit. Um, Upon monitoring the figures and the net migration figures throughout the around about the past 10 years, the figures have lingered between 200,000 to 300,000 for net migration. However, that peaked in June 2023 to a figure of 906, almost a million net migration. Now, net migration is the amount of people leaving the UK minus the amount of people entering the UK, and that gives you the figure. So 906,000 more people have entered than left the UK. And that's the figure that they want to reduce. So the changes that they want to do and make is to reduce the net migration by pushing for higher skilled migration, having lower overall numbers so it's the numbers refers to just this figure, 906,000. It is slightly lower now, around about 700,000. So that's the figures that they are talking about. And they want to try to increase domestic workforce. So what that essentially means is by having UK nationals as the first priority for work before they consider any overseas. We'll get onto that a bit later on as well regarding the overseas workers and what specific changes there will be. So regarding the work routes and skilled worker, this is a list of the main changes that they will make. So in around about 2020, COVID, there was a severe shortage of skilled workers in the health and social care field. And so initially the level required was graduate level, and they drop that back down to A level equivalent. So what they want to do is raise that back up to level 6 graduate level across the board um, for skilled work visas. What that essentially means is that for any skilled work that is proposed, the minimum education level will have to be as a graduate level, which is fundamentally different from a lot of the skilled work visas which we have been seeing, which um, you would just need an A level and you can apply to come. So that will be a significant change. Also, the salary thresholds, they will be increased. Unfortunately, the exact figure that has not been released. It is to be reviewed by the Migration Advisory Committee, MAC. So you'll see a lot about the MAC throughout this PowerPoint. It's a Migration Advisory Committee who review everything in terms of salaries and shortages. So the government would ask them to do a review and state how much it should be, but it has been stated that that will definitely be increased. So currently it's around about the 26,000 figure for health and social care workers, and for majority of other workers it's around about 38,000. So that figure will be reviewed, and as a consequence, the skilled workers will also be reduced for that. So the immigration salary list, what that is it's normally similar to a shortage of occupation. So if there's a sector where there's a shortage, they would allow a lower salary to be given for that occupation. They are talking about completely abolishing that salary list. So what that means is that all occupations will be expected to have the same salary across the board. So if they decide to do 40,000 as a base, then all occupations would be required to have that. Again, the Migrant Advisory Committee will review that and review the salary thresholds. So that is also still to be confirmed, but they have said that the immigration salary list, which provides the discounted salary thresholds, that would be abolished. Okay, so you might be wondering, you're already on a skilled worker visa. What's going to happen to you once your visa expires or is expiring? So there is a transition period until 2028. So if you're already on the skilled worker visa, then you can renew or or you can switch your visa until 2028 within the same sector until 2028. However, if you're on a skilled worker but you're switching to a different sector, a different occupation, then you may be under the new rules. So that's a bit of relief for everybody that's already on a skilled worker. Is if you're on one now, or if you get on one before the rules actually change, then you will be okay until 2028 because there's this transition period. Again, the further details are still to come, so we will be dealing with that once we get more confirmation of what the changes actually will entail. So the temporary shortage of occupation list. So what that is when the government would identify that there's a certain sector or a certain occupation that is suffering from a shortage in line with their own government industrial strategy. So if it's in a direction that the government wants to push something, a sector, what they'll do is they'll open that up temporarily for foreign workers to come in. and get a visa in that field. Again, the Migrant Advisory Committee will look into that, and they are independent to the government. So what they will do is they will review and see if there's an actual genuine shortage in that field or in that sector, and then advise the government that yes, we should open up this temporarily. Um, Again, the workforce strategy uh, refers to the government policies, whether they want to push a specific field, um, and then employer is investing in. So yeah, so that's the main overall overarching theme for all of this is that they want the employers and the businesses to focus on UK nationals in terms of hiring domestic skills. Again, yeah, so this is time limited and sector specific. So they might open you up for a short while. Like the health and care visa initially was temporary, but upon reviews and reviews and reviews, it remained open. So that was sector specific, and initially it was time limited, which they kept on extending, and then they kept it open. So that's an example of that. Now the social care visa. So what they've said in the white paper is that overseas recruitment will be closed for all new applicants. So care homes, health and social care, what they've said is overseas recruitment closed for all new applicants for this one. So that's quite a big change. Um, Again, this refers back to the transition period 2028, where if you're already on the visa, where you're in the country on the visa, you can extend it, you can switch to another sponsor. But again, this is subject to review as well, and depending on um, public reaction and everything like this. That is so it's all subject to review. Thank you. And then, so those two are current changes. Since October 24, they did make some other changes also regarding skilled workers in country. And for this is specifically for the companies involved, where the sponsors have to show that there's a genuine vacancy available. So what they're going to do is tighten this, where the sponsors have more where the sponsors have more onus to show that they are recruiting for a genuine vacancy, because what happened was that a lot of companies they realized were hiring, um, and then once the workers came to the UK, they didn't give them hours, or they didn't even give them any hours or enough hours. So that's why that was tightened. And then again, it's proposed that potentially that could be tightened even more. Again, this one is for the sponsors. So the immigration skills charge is a payment that they would have to make upon issuing you a COS, and that is going to be increased from to 32% by 32%. So what that will do is that will also um, prevent employers potentially from wanting to assign COSs if they cost more money. So that's another strategy that they've gone, instead of just restricting um, for the skilled workers now already on the visa. Um, they're trying to make it harder for the companies as well by increasing the cost of the issuing the COSs. And then I'll just touch on the second point first. There's a lot of people that are on asylum or waiting for asylum decisions that have the ability to work, that might have the skills to work, but the government hasn't been allowing them to do work for at least the first year of their asylum claim. So that's a kind of a silver line in all of these changes is that people who are waiting for asylum, recognized refugees, they may potentially apply through sponsored work routes when they're in the UK waiting for asylum, or even if they're on asylum, they can apply for that, and that would be better for them, more secure for them, rather than being in limbo waiting for a COS. And then in terms of businesses, the government are also proposing the global talent route. So what that is essentially, it's for businesses that want to set up in the UK from abroad. So they are expanding that to allow more of that to come into the UK. So if there's someone that's got a qualification or some kind of specific honor in, say, AI, for example, then they would be able to come to the UK under a potential global talent route or innovative founder route. But all of these are dependent on investing a lot of money in the UK and setting up a business. Again, that one is mainly applicable to employers, that change. And then, so what we do, we move on to the family reforms that they are looking at. Again, they're doing a lot of changes. It is a lot of information to take in. So forgive me if I'm rushing through everything, but it's nearly a 90-page document which we're going through. So in terms of the family migration, they will do a lot of changes to that as well. I've listed some of them here. So it's going to amend the relationship requirements. We don't know what exactly they mean by these things. So if they are vague, it's vague in the document that they have released. Again, all of this will come to further light when they actually take it to Parliament. So the changes, they will include a clear relationship requirement, to raise the minimum English language standards. So that one we do have a bit of potential information about. So even for spouse visas, there would be a requirement for, I believe, a B2, where previously the minimum was A1 and then A2 for the further leave, and then a B1 for the settlement. There's talks of that is going to be straight to B2 from the start, so a higher level from the start. And then we've got and another point on the minimum English language standards. So if you're on a skilled worker visa, normally your dependents, they wouldn't have to have the English language requirement. They wouldn't have to have the IELTS test. So one of the proposed changes for that is that even your dependents would need to get the English language certificate also. So that's an additional requirement there. Financial thresholds. So that's something that we touched on earlier regarding the salary thresholds. So that slightly ties into this. So the financial thresholds, they already proposed this last year, where they initially wanted to put family visas, spouse visas up to 38,000, and then they reduced it to 29, subject to review. So that's more on that. So we might have a good indication that they might raise this sometime in the autumn, maybe, and then raise it again sometime next year. But again, that's all speculation. We don't know yet. And then they will retain some protection for victims of domestic abuse, because generally, if someone's a victim of domestic abuse, they can apply for settlement. If someone's on a spouse visa and they are a victim of domestic abuse, then they can apply for settlement. So they will retain some of that. To which extent, again, we don't know. We do need to wait. But the Migrant Advisory Committee, um, they will review the figures and provide us the information what they think the financial requirement should be. And another factor, suitability rules. The suitability rules, they normally cover, um, say, character checks. So what they'll do is they see if you're a person of good character, looking at a potential criminal history, immigration history, financial history. So they'll tighten those. Um, a few of the indicators that we've got is that before, for example, one example that we have is that before custodial sentences um, would potentially make you liable for deportation. But now, what they're proposing is that even non-custodial sentences would potentially put you in that line. Um, so on that, we do need to wait for more information. I'm sure that they'll present an actual list of um, what kind of criminal history will be deemed sufficient enough to actually warrant someone leaving and being deported. And then there will be changes again. The detail is very vague in the white paper on this. So the information that we can provide at this stage is also very vague, unfortunately. But there will be a new route for bereaved parents of British children or settled children to stay and settle. So this is similar to another visa route where bereaved partners can apply for settlement. So this is a new route for bereaved parents. Um, so again, we need to wait for more information on that one. Um, and then changes to the children's route as well. There's a lot of um, different methods that children can get leave to remain or nationality or settlement. So there's going to be changes to that as well, where children without immigration status who've lived in the UK for quite a few years, they'll make clear pathways for them to get settlements because it is very convoluted at the moment, um, which route that they can take to either get a leave to remain or whether they can just get settlement or whether they can get a nationality straight away. So what they have said is that they will make that a lot clearer um, regarding the settlement. And then, so I'm sure you all have heard about this one. Um, they are looking to change settlement time limit. And again, I can't reiterate enough because it is a white paper. None of this is concrete at the moment, so there's no cause for panic or anything like this at the moment. It's all proposals which will be put to Parliament. Um, and then at that stage, then we can potentially have another webinar and we can go through the actual changes. But it's always good to be informed of what's possible. So in terms of the settlement and the citizenship changes that are proposed, what they are saying is that the standard qualifying period would be extended to 10 years. At the moment, it's 5 years. So if you're on a spouse visa or if you're on a skilled work visa, you can normally get settlement after 5 years and then get nationality a year after that, a year after you've been on indefinite leave to remain. Um, but that is proposed to change to 10 years now as a starting point. But what they say is that they will work backwards. So the starting point is 10 years, but if you can show that you've contributed, then they will reduce that to 5 years. Now, what they actually mean by contribution, again, unfortunately, they haven't provided any information on that. But guesses would probably say that it would be some kind of financial contribution, in terms of having a business or creating jobs, but that's all speculation at the moment. But there will be some routes to get 5 years settlement rather than the 10. As I said, it's working backwards. The base is 10 with the option to have it reduced to 5, subject to whatever they will mean by contribution. Um, so the faster 5 year,
Hello.
yes, hello. Sorry, it's okay. Um, okay, the faster 5 year pathway remains for British citizens, dependents, and victims of domestic abuse. Again, on this, they haven't said what exactly um, they propose to change about it, if anything. We just have to wait for that. And then earned citizenship, similar to what I was saying, is the points-based contribution to accelerate it. So we don't know what exactly they're going to look at, but they're going to look at the circumstances, whether they're going to look at character as well, to say that you can go from the 10 years, reduce it to the 5. Um, and the Life in the UK test, for those of you that are aware of it, it's already pretty difficult. Um, so they're going to review that in terms of, well, we don't know if they want to make it harder because they think it's too easy, or they want to make it easier. We don't know. But that will be reviewed as well. And then we can move on to student visa reforms. So this is more for the universities or the colleges or the institutions that have the licenses, but it will affect the people getting the student visas majorly as well, because it will make the government going harsh on the universities or the institutions, will therefore in turn make them go harsh on the people looking for the student visas. So prior to this, um, the the universities would have certain criteria that they would need to meet to retain their sponsorship status. So for example, prior to the changes, the enrollment rate, so the amount of people that are coming in and actually enrolling on the course would have to be at least 90%, and the amount of people that complete the course would have to be at least 85%. So they will make this tougher, they will make it more harsh. And what they will do is change that to the enrollment rate needs to be at least 95%, and the amount of people on student visas that complete the course to 90%. So a 5% increase in both of those. So what that will do in turn is um, when they're considering who to give a student visa to, they will think twice, because um, I believe what they noticed, uh, it says in the white paper that there was an increase in people applying for a student visa and then switching over without completing the course to a different kind of visa. And they didn't like that. So the changes that they made, they already made those changes last year where you have to complete a course to switch over. But for the universities to make it even tougher to get the visa in the first place, um, they propose an enrollment rate increase to 95% and the course completion rate to 90%. Um, and so for the sponsor system, they also propose red, amber, green. That's more to do with the sponsors themselves and how they manage it. So obviously, green will be your sponsor license is fine. Red will be that it's probably suspended, and amber will be okay. Probably restricted, where the amount of sponsorships they can give out is restricted until they fix some certain issues that have been identified by the Home Office. Um, and then once a course has been completed, a graduate visa would normally be for 24 months. or potentially for 3 years as well, 2 or 3 years, depending on the type of course that you completed. Um, and the proposal is for that to be reduced to 18 months, um, and to be able to get into a field of work before then. It doesn't include as a route to settlement. Um, so if you don't have a COS by the end of that 18 months, um, then essentially what they're saying is that there's no other visa route for you to remain on and probably return is what they want. So they've reduced that to 18 months um, as a proposal. Okay, and then this ties in a bit to the good character that I was mentioning earlier. The foreign nationals with sex offenders register level convictions to be barred from asylum. So, sorry. So what they'll do, they look at the actual offences committed by the people, and the the types of offense, the type of punishment, the type of sentence that has been received, and use that as a base to see if anyone can if someone can claim for asylum at all. Um, so there will be um, further information regarding that to come soon as well. On this one, it is very vague. That second point, which I touched on earlier as well, the Home Office to revoke visas for a wider array of offences, including non-custodial sentences. So that's why it's safe to assume that if they're making this change here, then they will potentially use that as a reason to look at bad character as well, when they're looking at criminality. So even non-custodial sentences, we don't know how small of a sentence that they look at because there's a lot of crimes that have non-custodial sentences. Um, so again, that's something that we'll have to wait about to see the extent to what they will change. And then again, just to be harsher on the employers and the people providing the sponsorship, whether it's the sponsors, sorry, whether it's employers or whether it's the universities, um, those not complying with sponsorship rules, they'll have greater enforcement against them. So that could be in terms of revoking their license indefinitely or for a short period of time, or even a financial penalty. So those employers or those universities would be more careful in looking at who they assign their visas to. And again, greater enforcement again. Visa applicants with tax debts, which I touched on earlier, that they look at your financial history as well. So if there's any issue with tax, then they would start with a negative against when um, considering any kind of application. Yeah, so the key dates, all of this is very new. It's all came at the start of this week. There's been certain rhetoric for a few months now regarding immigration and how they want to get harsher with it. So back in November, the Prime Minister did a speech and he published a different white paper, um, and that was regarding the genuine vacancy test. Um, and that was in October 2024, where they started showing that they are looking to do something further now in terms of the immigration. Um, and then April, they brought in the sex offense convictions, barring the barring rule for that, which I just discussed. Um, and now, so in line with this white paper, which is this week, so May 2025, the white paper for all these changes. This will probably take a good few months to go through Parliament, he has to go through the House of Commons, he has to go through the House of Lords, he has to have a few readings. So I can't stress enough that there's no cause for concern at the moment because none of these changes have actually came in. These are all proposals. And there is a lot of speculation because um, the government know as it goes through the House of Commons and the House of Lords, there's a lot of changes. So they don't want to be too specific on a lot of things um, because they know that it's subject to change. So this could be a good few months before we hear anything concrete about the changes that will actually um, be made. So there's no cause for panic or concern at the moment. Um, and I believe that concludes the presentation. Now, okay, so what we're going to do now is look at the questions. Margaret,
Yep.
do we want to go into the questions now?
Yep, we can do. Do you have those available to see?
Okay, just bear.
So before we do answer the question, just for everyone that is here, these are some of our upcoming events. So we host a free legal drop-in service every Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Methodist Central Hall. So this is free advice and support for COS holders in the health and social care sector. And we also have a upcoming Tulia conference for healthcare visa holders. So this will be on the 30th of August 2025 from 2 to 6 p.m. This will also be at the Methodist Central Hall. Get your tickets now and don't miss out. So tickets are available on Eventbrite. However, in regards to the questions, we do have some that are in the chat. I don't know if you have access to that, Arslan. However, I can just read some of them out, but there should be a lot through the link.
I can see some of them. Rumbi, did you want to take over for the questions?
So what I can do is I can read the questions out to you, and you can just go ahead and read them, um, or you can just pick the ones that are on the screen. It's completely up to you.
No, read them out to me, please.
Perfect. Okay. So someone has asked, I already received an offer letter and a COS. I'm waiting to do my visa. Will this affect me in getting a visa approved?
So if you already have a COS and you've got the offer letter, it would be advisable to submit the application as soon as possible. As I said, none of the changes have actually been implemented now. So there's no reason why that visa application would fall for a refusal. Nothing has changed at the moment.
Thank you. The next question is, since they are closing the visa, what's going to happen to the thousands of people who are going to lose their IELTS, IELTS money, and maybe UK should refund them because it's a lot.
So regarding the IELTS, that's a completely separate um, organization to the actual Home Office. It's a private company who provides the English tests. So the Home Office that they wouldn't really refund all of that because that isn't solely for Home Office. A lot of the time, yes, it is used for Home Office, but because IELTS and the people who provide that is the private companies, um, they wouldn't refund those.
Thank you. So we have another question. I need to go to Zim for a license. Is it safe since I haven't worked for my sponsor? Does immigration seem if one hasn't worked for their, can immigration see if one hasn't worked for their sponsor?
Can you just repeat that? Why they're going back to Zim?
So they need to get a license. I'm guessing a driving license.
Okay. So the starting point for that is that if you haven't been working for the company, then it would be a bit risky. What was the second half of that question? It's a bit of
Yep.
a longer
She
question.
said, can immigration see if someone has not been working for their sponsor?
Yeah, so the sponsors, they have a duty to report anything to the Home Office, whether it's absences, sicknesses, maternity, holidays. They have to report all of that to the Home Office. So if you haven't been going to work, the sponsor would have a duty to report that to the Home Office, and then the Home Office in turn would um, write to you, potentially asking you to clarify why, or in the worst case scenario, canceling the visa. So you just need to double check that with the sponsor why they're not providing work.
Okay, so we have another point, another question. So what happens to people who are still looking for switches in the midst of all of this?
So if you're currently looking for a switch, as I said, nothing's changed at the moment. You might see a slight change in attitude from employers potentially, but in terms of the actual rules, nothing's changed, and you should still be able to get the COS from companies that have sponsor licenses. Nothing has changed at the moment. So it would be advisable before the changes come that you can get onto this route so you can take advantage of the transition period until 2028.
Thank you. Someone else has asked, is it even worth it anymore to be in this country, or should we consider relocating to other countries?
See, that's a difficult question because then it calls into question personal circumstances also. Um, we at Tulia, we are doing a lot to lobby the government into change and make it easier for migrants. But definitely that question does go down to personal circumstances.
Thank you. Someone asked, in regards to dependents, what's the cut-off age for English tests?
So that would be 18, most likely. Again, we don't know, but that would probably be 18. We'll have to wait for confirmation of that. But most likely, yes, it would be 18.
Thank you. We have a very recent question that states, I would like to apply for a visitor's visa for my husband. Will this affect the visa?
So there haven't been any changes proposed to the visit visa. Um, the person hasn't told us which visa they are currently on or whether they are a British national themselves. But in terms of actual visit visa, they haven't proposed any changes. So it's safe to assume that for the purposes of that question, um, they will keep the same requirements where you have to show financial ties in your home country, to show family ties in your home country, and show that you will be able to spend, either you or your partner would be able to fund the duration of the trip, and won't breach any of the other conditions such as working, studying, or any of these things. So the requirements for that would remain the same. There hasn't been anything to suggest that visit visas will be more strict.
Thank you. So the next question Just want to clarify on what will happen after 2028 for those currently in the UK with a skilled worker visa. Some would have reached 5 years, some still counting.
So the general principle for any kind of legal changes is majority of the time they don't um, apply retrospectively. So if you're already on a visa, then sorry, excuse me. Yeah. So if you're already on a visa under the 5 year route, so the skilled worker route, you can get settlement after 5 years. Um, so the assumption is that even after the changes come in to change it to 10 years, if you're already on it, you can take advantage of that, which is why I said take advantage of applying before 2028 and before these changes so that you can be already on the route. Again, stress that these are proposals. We don't know how exactly they're going to do it and how they're going to do the what they refer to as the 5 year contribution benefit. But generally, they don't apply retrospectively. If you're already on the route, you can take benefit of the rules as they are today.
Thank you. So we have another question. Um, how can you support people already in the UK on a COS and appear to not be treated in line with employment laws, but are quiet and silent due to fear of losing their sponsorship and their livelihood if dismissed for speaking up?
Again, this is something that we at Tulia we do push hard for and lobby against the government, other organizations similar to us, because we identify, we realize how employers and sponsors exploit their workers. They know that skilled workers in this field specifically as well don't have much option. That they might give them uh, a short shift and they have to travel. The commute time is longer than the shift that they're given, for example, or they might be told the night before to travel 2 hours away for some domiciliary care. So we know that a lot of people are taken advantage of, um, and that's something in regards to modern day slavery exploitation that Tulia is working on and working against, um, making this more prevalent. The Home Office, throughout the white paper, they've mentioned this, but they seem to have gone the other way, and they seem to be saying we're going to restrict all migration. So their way of reducing this exploitation is stop everyone coming in or restricting them coming in, whereas we want to push for to make the circumstances better, to make everything better for the people that are on this visa.
Thank you. So we have another question related to the white paper. So it says, does this change affect newly qualified nurses that were being recruited from Poland?
So the short answer to that, unfortunately, is we don't know. Uh, Nurses is notoriously a sector where there's a shortage. So I would like to say no, it wouldn't affect you because there's a shortage of nurses in general. But unfortunately, I'm unable to say whether how it's going to affect that specifically.
Thank you. So someone stated that they came previously in 2023 and they would like to bring their wife and their daughter as a dependent. However, they are wondering if these new requirements will affect them and are they starting now?
Sorry, just repeat that one, Margaret.
So someone previously came to the UK on a visa in 2023 and would like to bring their wife and their daughter as dependents. However, they're wondering if this will affect them.
Okay, so again, I would reiterate that none of the changes have actually came in yet. Because this person came into the UK in 2023, before the dependent changes were implemented, they should be able to bring in their partner and child through the current route, and they shouldn't have any issues with that, because it should be considered on the current rules.
Thank you. So someone stated that they recently got a refusal on their visa application last month, and their employer is now saying that they cannot get them another COS to reapply because of the new, um, they've stated that it's a new law, the white paper, and therefore they can no longer employ them. She stated her COS was issued in March.
So she has this. It's not really clear on this one, because if she has a COS already issued, then she should be able to apply for the visa, the switch. But what I will touch on this one, what it seems like is, even though the changes haven't come in and it's a white paper, they're all proposals, it does seem like attitude in employers has immediately changed, despite the changes not coming in, because they're probably scared what's going to happen tomorrow. So even without that changes being implemented, you can see that employers have um, already changed their attitude in whether to consider giving someone a visa or not, or whether to give them a COS. Um, so that's one of the impacts that unfortunately this has already had. Um, but in terms of the question, if the person's got a COS, they should be able to apply.
Thank you. I think they were being told that they could not, so thank you for that clarification. Um, Someone has asked, what are the consequences of someone working only 20 hours at the moment, never having worked for their employer because they do not have enough hours? Will this affect, will the new rules affect them when applying for indefinite leave to remain?
So the nature of the question is not tying in anything to the new rules. The question seems to just be an independent, separate question on its own. So um, you are allowed to work 20 hours additional to the sponsored work that you're doing, but that is on the basis that you are working at your main company as well. So the general basis is the company that's sponsoring you, you should be working for them. And then you're able to do an additional 20 hours. You shouldn't just be working 20 hours somewhere else. So that is something that you need to speak about to your employer, your sponsor employer, so that they can give you the work that as per the COS. Um, but in terms of the changes, I don't see that circumstance being affected by the changes.
Thank you, Arslan. So we have another question. So a lot of the questions seem to be around dependents who have joined people, and as someone's visa is coming to an end, will this affect them and their dependents?
So at the moment, dependents are only allowed if you came before March 2024. So if you have a dependent partner or a dependent child currently in the UK, um, you should be able to extend their visa in line with your own visa. That's not changed. Um, for the future, for skilled workers in the future, the proposed change is that the dependents will have to do an English test also. So that's one of the changes. The English test will be mandatory for dependents, whether it's a partner or a child. The child will have obviously a cutoff age, which we believe should be 18. Um, but sometimes in some scenarios, you can have dependent children that are above 18. So for those, there would be English test. But yeah, if you're already on the route, then you can continue. As I said, the rules don't normally apply retrospectively. If you're already on as a dependent, you should be able to extend it.
Thank you. So we have another query. So someone has stated that they have a re-entry ban for 1 year for previously overstaying their visa. And now their ban period has elapsed. If they get a COS, what is the possibility of their visa being approved in terms of the new white paper that has just recently come out?
Again, the white paper is just proposals. But if the re-entry ban, if the time's elapsed, you can apply for a COS and come to the UK, but you would have to disclose all of your previous issues on the application form, and that it would be discretionary for the Home Office to grant the visa. In terms of the white paper, um, it mentions regarding the character and everything. So again, we don't know what extent that will be, whether they will look at previous refusals or overstay or any deportations, or what reasons were given for the initial re-entry, because that can be a variety of issues that can lead to a re-entry ban, whether it was overstaying or whether it was some kind of issue with the documents, for example. So there would be discretion involved in that also.
Perfect, thank you. So I think we've got time for one more question before we come to an end. Um, so essentially, people are wanting to know after 2028, what is it that they can do when bringing dependents over, or applying for visas?
So the information, again, is very limited. Um, 2028 is 3 years from now. So it will depend a lot on public opinion, public relation, the kind of impact that these changes have on the economy, the kind of rhetoric that is um, given. Obviously, we at Tulia, we do a lot as well in terms of trying to get change from the government also. So 2028 is very difficult to say, as because if you would have asked us 1 week ago, we didn't know these changes were going to come in. So it's probably not beneficial to think about 2028 and the changes that could or could not come in at this stage. Um, but the information, based on the information that we do have, do try and utilize um, the transition period before 2028, um, and get on the field, get in the sector and on the visa before that.
Thank you. So for those questions that have not been answered, or anyone that still has any queries, we are going to compile a list of asked questions, and we will get some answers for you guys. Those will come out on our social media and will be shared shortly. So thank you, Arslan, for talking us through the new white paper, and essentially what that means and what we need to know. As stated before, if you have any questions, please do continue to add them onto the link, and we will compile some answers for you guys. Arslan, is there anything you have to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it throughout, but I can't stress it enough. I know it's very it can easily send you into a panic because of all the changes that are happening. And the government, they don't make it clear what exactly a white paper is. These are all just proposals. Nothing has been implemented yet at the moment, so there's no cause for concern. Don't panic. Um, Definitely, with the information that we have been given, we have to try and move according to that. But immediately there's no cause for concern. Of course, we will have another webinar when the changes actually do come in. But until then, we don't have anything concrete. So I know it's easier said than done. Try not to go into panic mode. These are all proposals. Um, yeah, and that's it. I do apologize for going through everything so quick, but it's because there's so much information and we have such short time. As I said, it's a 90-page paper, and we've got to go through everything with the questions at the end as well. Um, but yeah, everything will be released on social media, so you can get that. We have the drop-in sessions on Thursday, every Thursday between 2 and 4 at the Methodist Holding Commentary. So you're welcome to come there and ask us questions. But yeah, apart from that, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And thank you again to everyone for attending today. We will hopefully have further information coming out on our social media. So please do be on the lookout, and also do take a note of our upcoming events. Thank you everyone for attending today, and we hope you have a very lovely day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.